I found something weird. It's crazy. It's the strangest thing. There's like some type of well out here in the woods, in the ravine. There's like a secret cavern. I don't know. First, let me show you where I'm at. See, I'm down in a ravine. There's all types of just big trees, and there's like some steep faces, and it's really quiet and lonely and isolated. All right, look, there's a hole in the ground right here. So let's take a look at this hole. All right, so it's a deep hole and it goes all the way down there. Oh yeah, and it opens up. Now, listen to the sounds when I throw a rock down there. You hear that? Listen. No. Whoa. It's a stone-lined well. That's old. That's super old. And I think I understand. Since we're in the bottom of a ravine, that's that much less that they would have had to dig to actually hit water. So if you put your well in the bottom of a ravine, you're close to water. So I don't have my gloves, I don't have my digging tools. The sun is about this far from touching the horizon over there, so God, I don't know. I'll go get some digging tools and we'll just look real quick. We may have to come back and do a part 2, but it's some kind of hand dug stone lined well from 18 something. Got a measuring tape and a jar. So I'm gonna send it down there and see how deep this well is. Let's watch. Okay, just hit water. The jar is sinking. And there it is. So the well is 15 feet deep. Yeah, about 15 feet deep. Okay, let's bring it up. A little dirt never hurt anyone, right? It's a little cloudy because I dropped it down too fast, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with this water. I know it's a little cloudy, but a little dirt doesn't hurt you. It's pathogenic bacteria from other humans. That's what hurts you, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's no heavy taste of minerals. I thought I would taste like calcium carbonate, iron oxide, sulfur. Like, there's no minerals in this water. That's absolutely perfect water. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop a magnet down this well. See if there's anything that fell down there years and years ago. I had to drink the water first before I cloudied it up with this. Okay, magnet. It's probably full of mud and sediment that fell down there years and years ago. So if there was any iron artifacts or something, it probably sank so far down in the mud. You know what I forgot? I forgot to take the magnet guards off the magnet. I forgot that. Down here in a gully, and the old farmhouse must have been up here at the top of the hill. And you see, the reason why you would dig a well in the bottom of the gully was because down here you're that much closer to water, and so you would have to dig an extra 100 feet if you were to dig up there by the farmhouse. So I think that's why they came down here. And so that being said, it would be very worth it to metal detect this whole area, because people came down that hill to get water every single day. And judging by the stones that that well is made out of, that's going to be a very old well. Okay, I know what it is because I just wiped it off and looked at it underneath the magnifying glass. It's the greatest, oldest coin I have ever found, and it goes right along with the well. That's insane. Look at this. Here it is. This right here is 2 cents from 1868. Wow. And you see what happened here? Let me show you something. Here's my coin from 1868, 2 cents. And here's what happened. Look at this. Okay, so I'm in the gully, and see, this was the road. A long time ago, there would have been a wagon going right down this road right here, and stuff would rattle off the wagon, and stuff would fall off into the road, and it didn't matter because it was dark and they were going to get water from the well. So there's a whole series of items from this coin going that way. So hey, it's about 2 o'clock and it's just way too dark, and it's gonna get dark fast. So I've got to montage this. I've just got to dig, show you what I'm finding, keep digging. I don't have time to stop and talk about every little thing because
it cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelled. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter. The answer is dark, the dark, dark.
Crush that, rip, rap, smash, pop, pitch, that.
hey, there's an ice storm coming. So, gotta put this away and go home before we get caught in an ice storm. I found all of this metal in one straight line, which means at one time there was a pathway there that people would use to go down to the well, and they probably went down there every single day, and parts from the wagons rattled off the wagons into the pathway. And I imagine that when they went down there, they didn't go and just bring back one bucket of water, because that wouldn't have gone very far. You needed water for cooking, for cleaning, for laundry, for dishes, for bathing, and for drinking. So that's a lot of water. I imagine that they got a horse and a wagon and they filled up a bunch of those stone jugs. You know those big like 5-gallon stone jugs? I bet you they filled those up and got enough water to last the entire day. And I think that explains this right here. This right here is a brass kerosene lamp burner. And so maybe if they went down there at night or early in the morning, you had to bring your kerosene lamp with you. And so this most likely fell off the wagon onto the ground, and we found it 150 years later. So these kerosene lamps started to become popular around 1860s. And it was that time that technology started to improve, and we had like a steady supply of kerosene. So kerosene lamps became popular. Now this style of burner right here, this is called Queen Anne. And unbelievably, you can buy this exact burner today, brand new, for about $16, because so many kerosene lamps were made and saved over the years that people started to collect them and restore them. And so there's a market for these things right here. Now the problem with these kerosene lamps is that if they fall, if this were to tip over and break on the floor, then the glass would break, kerosene would splash everywhere, and you'd have a huge fire on your hands instantly. And maybe that's what happened here. Maybe this fell off the wagon and hit the ground and burst into flames. And the person that was riding the horse and wagon, they did what you should do. Keep right on going. You wouldn't want to panic and jump off and make a big deal, because the horses might be spooked by this plume of flames coming up out of nowhere. And so you don't need a lantern for horses. The horses can figure out where the road is. So they may have dropped it, it burst into flames, and then they just kept right on going because they didn't want spooked horses and hooked up to a wagon. Now the amazing thing about this is that it has a secret design in it that not a lot of people know about. And so this lamp is efficient, and it actually doesn't produce hardly any soot. And the reason is this shape right here. Do you see this globe right here? They're all shaped like this, and they're like that for a reason. This globe is an area of hot air, and it heats up and it rises, right? That's very important, because if the air doesn't circulate rapidly through here, then you're not going to get complete combustion of the kerosene, and it's going to make a nice black soot that covers everything in the house. So in order to get around that, they designed a specially curved lamp that utilized a very important principle in science, and that is called Bernoulli's principle, and it creates what we call the Venturi effect. You see, as the air rises, as the air is a fluid, as the fluid air rises, it goes through this constriction, right? So when a fluid passes through a constriction, it has to speed up. So that means that the hot air speeds up as it goes out. It just rushes out. And so this rushing of air coming out of the top of this constriction creates another rush of air down here where these vents are. And so the air is rushing up and the air is rushing in. And so because the air is just rushing in there, it gives the flame plenty of oxygen, a continuous supply of oxygen to provide complete combustion of kerosene. And so that was important because you didn't waste any fuel and it didn't leave black soot everywhere. And you can see in this right here, these holes right here follow the same principle. There was ventilation holes in the bottom of this. So that's interesting because people in the 1800s were very ignorant of the biological sciences, but they were well versed in the physical sciences. So it's a relic of the past, and there's definitely a story to why this lantern was laying out there broken in the mud on the way to the well. The second thing that I want to talk about are the rocks for the well. Those rocks seem like ordinary rocks, but there's two amazing things behind those rocks. Number one, they didn't have to build a well out of rocks. They could have used bricks, but they decided not to. I don't know if bricks weren't available because they were pioneers and they just didn't have any bricks, or if the bricks were too expensive and they didn't want to spend the money, or maybe somebody was arrogant and whoever was digging the well says, I'm not using any bricks because my grandfather taught me how to dig wells and he never used a brick in his life. In any case, those rocks had to be picked up from fields. They're just scattered all over the place, sometimes in piles around here. And so you would have had probably kids go out into the field and pick up rocks all day long and put them in the wagon. Now, it's very important to understand the nature of those rocks. Those rocks have imperfect surfaces on them, right? So the surfaces are jagged and wavy. That's very important. And the reason why is because if you stack them right, you can get the imperfections on the rocks to kind of like jam up together, interfere with each other. And if you do it right, you won't get any lateral movement of the rocks, which is important because the sides of the well are always trying to cave in. And so this restriction of this lateral movement was what keeps the well functional. And 150 years later, the well is still in perfect condition. And so that's why a rock-lined well was so much harder to build, because every single stone you put down has to be tested. You put the stone down and you wiggle it and you move it back and forth. And if there's any play in it, you take that stone, you put it somewhere else, you get another stone and you put it there, and you mix and you match and you wiggle and you make these little decisions so that the stones are all jammed up against each other. And the third thing that I want to talk about is the coin. I was able to find a 2-cent piece from 1868. And I'm not quite sure of the story of that coin, but supposedly after the Civil War, people were shocked and they didn't want to spend money. They were hoarding money, or they didn't trust money. So the government did something that they thought would encourage people to be more free with their money and to get money flowing through society again. And so they printed a 2-cent coin. And so that started shortly after the Civil War. I'm not sure exactly the thinking behind that, but the 2-cent coin was made in response to this reluctance of money to flow through the economy at that time. So very amazing story. I am just thrilled that we got to do that, because it's not every day that you find an old well and find a piece of history where you can piece the story together. The last thing I want to show you is that the well actually has fossils. Those rocks actually have fossils. Now that goes way back. I don't know the last time that Illinois was covered by the ocean, but those are marine fossils, and that whole rock is made by marine sediment. So I'll show you some close-ups of that right there. So thank you for watching. Hey, that's the best I can do. I can't do a video any better than that. So this was my favorite video. And so I have a documentary that I filmed. That's another good video, but I think this is my all-time favorite video. So I'm really happy that I was able to share that with you. My red light battery indicator is blinking, so I guess it's time to go. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.